that glares too much. Good morning. Ooh, it's 9:15. Happy New Year again. And good morning to everyone. So I hope you all had a wonderful transition from December to um sorry, I meant to lotion my feet before I got on here, but all right, if there's one thing that I personally do not like about the wintertime, it is wintertime skin. I just know. No, it's like no matter what you do, no matter what you do. Anywho, so good morning. I wanted to talk about the importance of surrender. Um, so I will tell this story briefly. I told it in much more depth and detail in the Central Energy Coven. There's a video in there describing much of this. Um, yesterday, I was driving back from Buffalo, New York, and there was quite the snowstorm. I I've never driven in anything quite like that. I've driven in some snow before, but no, it was not like that. And upstate New York is like it's snow. Needless to say, it was actually one of the most frightening experiences of my life. Um, and it took me when I got home. It took me a good oh gosh, it took me a good 2 hours to do some somatic work and meditation to calm my body down. Like when I was meditating, my eyes were still, even with my eyes closed, my eyes were still moving like I was on the road. I could feel the buzzing in my body from the amount of concentration that it took for me to keep us straight. Cars were off the road. There were moments of like zero visibility. The car swerved, and more than once, you know, and uh, there was fear. Um, my sons were. I was mitigating two things, right? I'm focusing, attempting to keep my human calm so that they're not too afraid because they were afraid. And I'm also literally like putting all of like my Yoda-esque use the force feeling into keeping this car straight and because there were moments when the wheel was doing whatever it was doing, and all I could do was just kind of follow the car. And there are like, this is not like a stretch of like 95 highway that we were on with the majority of this. This is a stretch of like 2 lane, a little bitty guardrail, dark drop. Don't know where that's going. Over on the right side, and on the left side, was the other traffic going the other way. And there are trucks. So thankfully, the times that I swerved, there was not a truck in sight, or there wasn't another car, right? Because once I started to spin out, any other thing could have happened. And during that time of when you're like, I need to survive this. I need to. We are going to. I even tried to get off the road. Like I left the highway. I thought I was gonna just go to a rest stop and wait it out. I went off the ramp. I was gonna attempt to turn to go up, and as I went to turn, the car slid right back down onto the highway again. So I took that as a sign that and as we're sliding, I'm making sure it doesn't accelerate, right? Because now I'm going back into merging, whatever little traffic is there. And so at some point, I realize I just have to surrender. I have to surrender to this experience. I did not want to be driving in this. I didn't check the weather. I wasn't thinking about it. I had to just surrender to the experience. I didn't like the experience. It was not my preference. But I was in it. And so me trying to fight against it would have only caused more angst and anxiety, which would not have helped me to focus and really just become one with that car. My body felt like an engine when I got home. It was still rumbling like I was a vehicle, like I was in it, like I wasn't. So the experience taught me a couple of things that I wanted to share with you all this morning. One is the importance of gratitude, clearly. Interestingly enough, while we were visiting my daughter, and her apartment is beautiful, and my sons are, lamenting because they would love something like that. I mean, I would too, she definitely upgraded. And so we were having discussions and conversations about the desire, right? Because we do that a lot in our lives. We look at somebody else's something and we go, oh, I really want that. How come I can't have it? How come it can't be mine? Like, I don't like what I have. I don't like it. I don't want it. I want it to change. And so I was having conversations with them, as I have over the years, of explaining the energetics of focusing on the thing that you don't want. And what I encouraged them to do was to find something in Buffalo, a trinket, something that brought that feeling back with them, which they did. They each chose something more than a few things. We were shopping like fucking tourists. I chose some things too. Choose something that reminds you of this feeling and bring it with you so that you carry that vibration. Because we want to move too. And I told them, I told them then, and I tell them all the time, don't bring your energy to my shit, because I'm working on it. And if you can't help me work on it, then I don't want to hear about it. Because this is where I'm focused. Needless to say that when we got home yesterday, after I parked in front of literally parked in front of our apartment building, I put the car in park. I took like 2 deep breaths and I broke down into tears. Right? Because all of the whole trip, the trip takes 6 hours. It took us 9. Just washed over me. And so I just sobbed in the car. I didn't even know it was coming. Just sobbed in the car. And then I started to laugh and I said, I bet you guys are happy to be home now, huh? And they laughed too. They're like, no, yeah, they've never been. Actually, we talked about it in the car. Never been so excited to come back home. That, so happy to be in their bed. So happy to be here. Spirit, the universe, has a funny way of helping us shift perspective, and in ways that I would prefer not. Like, I don't know who came up with this, with the rules to being human, but I shit you not, I know when I make my transition, I'm gonna do my best to advocate for y'all that we just make this playing field, this little chess field, it's a little easier to navigate. I can promise you, I will be making arguments for that. So gratitude. I am very grateful right now for the air I breathe. I am grateful for the life that I have. a million and one things could have happened on the road yesterday. From just getting stuck to flipping over to a major news story that you all would have been like, isn't that, oh man, it's Danny Mace. Wow. Any of that could have happened. I saw cars just, and it didn't. And so gratitude. The other part is surrender. When you're faced with a situation that you really, I'm sorry, my tea bag has I love looking at the messages on my tea bag. Hold on a second. I gotta see what this is. Huh. Oh, today I have grown taller from walking with the trees. I love that. Surrender. When you find yourself faced with a situation that is not your preference, that you don't like, it could be a living situation, right? There were times when I was living with relatives. I didn't like it. There were times when I was homeless with my children. We were homeless. I didn't like it. There are relationships that we're sometimes in, jobs that we're sometimes in, or other events from A to Z that happen in our lives that we throw a bunch of shoulds at. I should not be experiencing this. This should not be happening to me. I don't want this thing to happen to me. I am against the whole of this that's taking place. When you are not in acceptance of what is, it makes it very difficult to actually find your way out of it. And this society is so strange because it'll tell you otherwise, right? It's like you have to fight against everything. Everyone's anti something or pro something. Like you have to fight against everything because this idea of if you surrender, it must mean you've given up or you're weak. And so you have to fight. You gotta constantly be in battle with it. Which is interesting to me because if the majority of people identify as Christians, did Jesus fight? I think we all know the answer to that question. He surrendered. He surrendered to the process of what was happening. Whatever the outcome was, he was surrendering to it. And our problem with surrender is that we want to control. We want to control everything. And we cannot. I could not control that snow. There's no controlling Mother Nature. Weather machines aside, should they exist or not, there's no controlling Mother Nature. There was nothing I could do about the amount of snow that was coming toward me. I could barely control the car. I had to kind of just follow it. By the way, if you don't know, and I'd learned this a few years ago, and I'm glad that I did watch this video wherever I learned it. If you are spinning out, do not slam on the brakes, which is the thing that a lot of people want to do because you're scared and you want to stop the car immediately. That actually makes the car spin out more because by law of physics, it's still moving with its inertia, right? So it's not going to stop, especially now that it's spinning. You pressing the brakes actually makes it spin out of control even more. So at the times when I could not gather the wheel together, I didn't grip the wheel to try to turn it the other way. I literally just took my foot off the gas pedal. I gently pressed it on the brake, like so gently, and I held the wheel and just kind of went with it and gently tried to guide it back. But I couldn't control it. I had to surrender. And that's a hard one for us because, again, surrendering means like if you're, when we were homeless, the idea of surrendering to that situation seems crazy. It's like, why would you do that? Well, I didn't give up. Surrender is an acceptance of what is. This is where I am right now in this moment. This is what it is. Let me breathe through this. Because once you're in acceptance, from that point, you can begin to move forward. And most of us live our lives not in acceptance. And that lack of acceptance and the surrender and understanding keeps us angry. I can't believe they did that to me. Why'd they do that to me? I can't believe my mother did that to me. My father did that to me. I can't believe my friends were that way. I can't believe he did this. I can't believe she did that. I can't believe they did all these things to me that shouldn't have happened. That should not have happened to me. You stay in a state of anger, of angst, of bitterness, of anxiety. You cannot see beyond. Imagine if I were, and I had moments, but when we were like homeless and I was like pissed. I shouldn't be here. I mean, and I had my moments when I was definitely like, this is some fuckery, right? I really shouldn't be here. But then that trickles down. COVID is an example. How many people did not accept, could not surrender to what was happening? How many people could not just center themselves and say, okay, this is what this is right now. What can I do in this moment? What can I do in this situation? Where can I place my attention and my focus? But you can't even get there if you're too busy still being pissed about the thing that's happening. So once I surrendered, okay, I tried to get off this road like twice, 3 times. Every time I try to get off, some weirdness happens. Clearly, I'm just supposed to stay. All right. So I asked one of my sons, what's the weather like? We're driving through Scranton. What's the weather like in Scranton? Okay, what's the weather like in Trenton? Like, I'm picking parts that I know we're going to pass through because I want to know now, okay, how long is the snow going to affect me? Is there somewhere I can get to where it's like it's going to give me some reprieve? So he's telling me, and then he's like, yeah, there's some rain, so forth and so on. I'm like, okay, so we just need to get through this part and then we'll get into rain. And I'm asking my other son who's sitting next to me, because I'm not looking. I'm like, how much longer do we have here? What's the next exit? So I'm looking at the exits and I'm just like, all right, this is exit 20. I got to get to 1B. And this is where I'm at. That's exit 13. I'm getting to 1B. So I'm looking ahead. I'm going, okay, this is the next step. This is the next thing. All right, I'm just on this stretch of road. We're just gonna, and I'm on the wheel and I'm looking at the road and I'm just like, oh, this is what's next. All right, once I get to I-80 and we're going across New Jersey, we're going east, I know it's gonna be okay. And don't you know, when we got to I-80, it was rain, but it wasn't that fucking snow. And I was able to at least drive at like 50 miles an hour. Because by that time, I'm too scared to drive any faster. But if I were trying to grip it, the car probably would have spun out of control. If I were trying to grip it and I was angst, they would have been in angst. And the car would have been a full-on frenzy. And who can drive in that? So you're driving your life. You're the driver. Are you going to surrender to what's happening? Have gratitude? And then from that point, begin to say, okay, now what can I do? Or are you going to try and grip it and control it and spin out of control? So because of last night, the sensual energy coven did not have its sensual manifestation ritual because there was no way that I could hold space for anyone when I was all over the place. And that experience and some other things, there's so much more that's going into this than I even thought was happening. I've not ever done this type of vision boarding thing before, but so much more is going into this now than I anticipated. So we are postponing it. I'm going to do a poll in the group to see what's the best day for everyone. I'm most likely now going to try and coincide it with some dark moon and new moon energy so that we really get like this maximum effect out of what we're doing, because I can feel it. Like there's so much that I can tap into, and this is not some cutesy for play thing that we're about to do in the coven. This is not just let's do a ritual and do some vision boards. No, this is a thing. I feel that I feel it. So if you haven't joined the coven and you still want to join us for that, you can DM me and I will send you the link, because I thought it was going to be maybe like an hour and a half. We're going to need to set aside a couple of hours, and that's why I need to do it. Like, I can feel it coming through me now, and it is chomping at the bit. It is. So DM me if you'd still like to join us. And yeah, that's it for today. I am happy to be here. I am happy to be here. I love you. Enjoy your Monday.